second Flash iPhone programming tutorial. And I am very excited, and I know you probably are too, especially because a lot of you have been asking for it. I decided that I thought you might like to have the same files as me, so I put all my files for you to download on MediaFire. Here, the link is in the description or the annotation that just popped up on the screen. It gives you a backdrop, a navigation bar, and a tab bar. Alright, now we're going to head on into Flash, where we're going to get programming. Alright, let's go ahead and create a new file. And yes, it is an iPhone OS, unless you're planning on somehow doing it a different way, which I'm unaware of. Go to File, Import, and you don't need to go through the library, just import directly to the stage. It really doesn't matter. Alright, let me grab iOS app contents. Okay, now that you grab those, there we go. So, you can go ahead and add some text to it. I'll do that really quickly. Alright, and you can add a button down here to click. For right now, I usually like to add the buttons last, because honestly, they're the least important part. I mean, the looks aren't as important as the functionality, at least. Because if it looks good and it doesn't work, well, it's a crappy app. Anyway, so what I like to do is I like to use a little text marker, such as A. Alright, and then go down and convert to symbol. Alright. And we're just going to name this button for now. Actually, just go ahead and call it button 1. Click OK. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Flash, but Flash isn't really an animator. Everybody thinks Flash just, you take something, you drag it with a keyframe, and hey, it makes the frames in between. Well, it can do that, but what it's really doing is it's really just typing a programming language for you called ActionScript. If it can do that, it can use variables. Now, what's a variable? Well, a variable is something that holds something else. So, if I had the variable x hold 2 and the variable y hold 3, x plus y would equal 5. Now, numbers can't be variables, but letters can. So, you should know that from algebra. Well, basically, the idea behind it is that instance name, which is right here, is creating that object into a variable behind the scenes. So, by using instance name, you're making this object into a variable. You can't see it, but you can use it in your code. So, we're going to go ahead and type btn1 for button 1, and that looks good enough to go. Alright, now we got that far. Let's go ahead and we're going to create a new layer, and this layer is going to be called Actions. Alright, and the first thing we want to do is we're going to click up at Window and Actions, and the reason I didn't use a shortcut is not because I don't know it, it's because there are both Mac and Windows users watching this, and they differ, and I don't want to confuse anybody. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and create an event listener. Now, if you don't know what that is, well, you obviously don't know ActionScript, because that's basically behind all ActionScript. But that's perfectly fine that you don't know that, because it's a little bit confusing. But you'll get it in a second. Basically, an event listener is, in JavaScript, when you have a button, you can say on click, do something. Well, in ActionScript, it doesn't work that way. You gotta kind of dig to it. You can't just say, when someone clicks this, do something. You gotta say, alright, here's the object. Alright, I want you to listen for a click, which is a mouse event. And then if that happens, do this function. Alright, so that's how ActionScript works. So basically, what we type is btn1 for our instance name dot add event listener. Alright, and then we're going to add some parameters to that. We're going to tell it what kind of listener it is. It's a mouse event. Make sure to be using the exact code I'm using because it is case sensitive. Alright, and then we're going to tell it that we're looking for a click. Alright, and when they click, we want it to go to go see. Alright, now we've declared it. Now let's go ahead and create our function. So function go see, and we're going to add some parameters for that one too. We're going to say event mouse event, and we're going to close it out. Now it imports flash events.mouse event for us, which saved us a bunch of trouble of typing that one line, but it actually really does help. Adobe typed a bunch of codes to create these objects to do that. Alright, so now we've done that. Now we're going to declare what type of function this is. Now, what I mean by that is every function returns a value. If you're not used to computer programming, let's look at JavaScript. You say in JavaScript return true or return false. In some languages, like in Java, you say return 0 for everything went fine, or return another number for an error, and that's also in C++. And that's basically how it works. You gotta return an integer or a statement to tell the CPU that everything worked okay. Well, some things are just really simple, and you're like, hey, CPU, you don't need to know anything because this is just going to obviously work. It always works. So what we do for that is we type void. Alright? So simply that means that I'm not returning anything, so get over it, CPU. It's going to work. Alright, now, although this was a button, we're going to type movie clip. And just like JavaScript, you can use the this statement. So in JavaScript, a bunch of times when you're trying to grab a value of a form or change it or something, you have to climb to it. Document dot the form's name dot the text box dot the value, and that gets very irritating. Well, you can just use this in JavaScript. Well, you can do that in ActionScript. And so we're going to say this dot root. So it's thinking, hey, what button is doing this? We got this far, but we don't know what button is doing this. Alright, well, it's saying that this dot root, so we know it's this button. So it must be the one calling the function. So it must be button 1. And that's how the compiler thinks. Alright, now we're going to type a dot go to and play. And we're going to type our frame, which is 1, and our scene in quotes, which is scene 2. Alright, and then end it with a semicolon. Alright, now if we go ahead and exit out and debug it, you're going to notice something a little weird. Alright, you're going to notice that when we launch it, nothing happens. It just does nothing. Well, why is that? That's because it doesn't know what it's supposed to do. It thinks, hey, okay, you gave me this weird command, but I don't know what to do with it. You only have one scene. You only have one place for me to go, and you're talking about something called Scene 2? I have no idea what that is. Well, we're going to go ahead and create Scene 2. To do that, we go up to Insert, Scene, and for the sake of time, we're not going to go ahead and paste everything in that right now. You can do it if you'd like, but I'm just going to type Scene 2. Alright? And so when it gets to Scene 2, it'll just say Scene 2. Now if we debug, it's going to look really weird. It's going to go all wacky. You're about to see. Alright, here we go. There we go. It's all out of whack. Why is that? Well, at the same time, it's trying to look for the event listener. It's also trying to play the keyframes of both scenes. And you can't do that. So what we're going to do to fix that is simple. We're going to go back to Scene 1. We're going to go into our Actions panel. We're going to go to Scene 2. And we're going to say Stop. Alright, and then on Scene 1, after our function, we're going to say Stop. Okay? Now we're going to go to Debug, and there we go. Scene 2. And that's basically how it works. You're basically taking one scene and going to another by adding an event listener. It's waiting for that mouse event, which is a click, and then it's going to listen to the keyframe and the scene you want it to go to. Now, so that's basically how it works. That is tutorial 2, and in the next tutorial we're going to get a little bit further into ActionScript. So I'll see you there.